Welcome to the world of MCA Discovision.
To begin playback of a disc, turn the player power on, place the disc on the spindle. Use the play button to start.
Discovision, that you be the boss. Now I'd like to show you some of the valuable things your MCA Discovision system lets you do.
Most persons find it more convenient. Gently pull up as you press down on the center shaft with your thumb. You'll hear a click. Simply plug one jack into this outlet.
How about that? Pretty easy, isn't it? Discovision.
This red light comes on.
Simply press stop. After I've stopped the action, you're going to practice using these buttons. The Discovision player gives you many special capabilities. Stop, play, slow, forward and reverse.
Imagine a dog chasing a rabbit around a tree.
How can you get there in a hurry? Now you enter the number just like dialing a push-button telephone. 2, 6, 3, 2, 4, search. Discovision. By the way, notice that the sound cuts off when you're running at anything other than normal speed. Use one of the step buttons. One single frame of picture is now held on the screen for as long as you want. Take as much time as you want, you're in control. Here's step forward. You found me again. Welcome back. check stops the disc and returns it to the bar position.
What's up, everybody? It's Monday. I do have some things to go over really quick before we start. First off, we got easy boards in. I posted little teasers in our Discord server and in our Facebook group. We will be stocking those tomorrow. We got 100 of them. That's all that we're going to have for the foreseeable future, as long as this silicon shortage is happening. So if you're on the fence about one, that this is all we're going to have. I genuinely do not have an ETA on when we're going to be able to get NXP processors again. So that's it. But yeah, we'll be stocking them shortly after 12 p.m. Central Time, just so we can have time to get the order stage. So the reason we're going to stock them after 12 p.m. is so we're past our same day shipping cutoff. So yeah, if you guys sign up to be notified of stock additions, you just add a product to your wish list, and then our site will send out emails. It does it in batches of 100. So if there's a lot of people on the wish list, it might take a sec. But shortly after 12 p.m. Central Time, we'll be stocking them. They're being processed right now. So we go through and do QC on the boards and everything, and then package them up and get them ready to send out to you guys. Yeah, we got our screwdriver kits in, which we covered last time. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We just restocked, meanwhile, power supplies, the 12-volt 350 watts. If you guys were waiting for those to come back in stock, those are back in stock on our site. We just got a shipment of those in. Creality LCDs are in. We've got plenty of those now. And we also have the metal brackets for the Ender 3. So if you guys are switching your Ender 3 V2 from the color touchscreen and you don't want to use a printed bracket, we have the OEM metal brackets now that come on the original Ender 3, and those will bolt up to the Ender 3 V2 on the right hand side. And on our Ender 3 V2s here, we have two of them. Both of those, the extrusion is already tapped, and the bracket comes with not only the screws for the LCD, but also comes with the screws to mount it to the printer frame. So it's got the 2 M4 screws and then 4 M3s, and those are on our site. I think they're like $8. They're really cheap. So one thing I'm playing with is I picked up a food dehydrator, which you can see right here. And we've been using a cheaper one, like one of those plastic cylinder types, out in the print farm to dry filament. And I got this one here for in my office. And the reason I went with this one is the little plastic ones are about $50, but you have to clip the trays out. So on your standard dehydrators that are the round style, they have like the plastic trays that you stack, and then there's like a grate in each of those levels, and you have to clip those out. The nice thing about this guy here is this has removable trays. So this is what they come with here. So it comes with these metal ones. You can see I haven't even opened them because I'm not going to use them. And the thing I like about this one is it has a timer function. So I can punch in how long I want to let it run and the temperature. And I also have a guide on our site with the recommended temperature settings to use and the lengths of time that you should be doing. And I'll post that link in the chat right here, filament dry. And there's a link to 2 dehydrators. A link to this one here. This one I got on Amazon is about $150. Looks really nice, really professional. I'm going to end up putting this down below on my rack here and keep that in my office for when I dry. The thing that prompted me to get one for my office here is I've been playing around with PETG, and I've got some just cheap Overture PETG that I've had for a while. And this is on the under 6. You can see we're just dealing with like stringing and playing with settings and everything won't get rid of it. But then I remembered PETG likes to pick up moisture. Now, this is the Greengate 3D. Really nice color. This again was printed on the under 6. These all use the same G code. And you can see we got some stringing, not as much like leakage out of the nozzle, but I'm going to put together a little video on the before and after. So I've got all these benchies that I printed, and I'm going to run the same G code. The only difference between the 2 G codes I have is one has layer fan, the other one doesn't. And I'm pretty confident that just drying the filament will result in much less stringing and much less like little zits and stuff on the print. So I'm going to do a video on that showing the differences. So I've got my before here. I've got the filament in here. It's been in here for about 3 hours now. About 4 hours is good for PETG at about 150 degrees Fahrenheit. And on that link I posted in the chat, there's a table. There's a table that shows you the temperatures and the times, and those are minimum times. Now, you can't really over dry filament. And I'm also playing around with, I also have some TPU in here, and TPU, from what I found, going through various resources, TPU likes to be dried around 55 to 60. I'm drying it at right around 65. And the main thing is you don't want to exceed what's called the glass transition temperature of your filament, which is where it starts to get melty and goopy and soft. So, because what'll happen is if you put it in there too high, the filament's just going to melt. Like PLA, you want to dry that like 40 to 45 Celsius, which is 104 to 113 Fahrenheit. And I already have the conversions there from Celsius to Fahrenheit on the page because most of the units you're going to buy in the US like this, you can see it says 150F. They're all in Fahrenheit. I poked around on like holding down buttons and stuff to see if I could change this to Celsius, but there's no documentation if this unit supports that. But this is a really nice unit. It's all metal. The only thing plastic is a couple pieces on the door and this faceplate, but this is all stainless steel. And I've got 4 rolls in here right now, and I could probably shove another 1 or 2. I could probably shove at least 1 more roll in. These are full 1 kilogram rolls. So this holds a lot more than the cheaper plastic ones. Now, there are products out there, Print Dry is one of them, that are basically they're food dehydrators that are rebranded, and they make their own like stacking pieces. Whereas this, you just don't use the trays and you can shove your film in here, and it actually pulls the air through from the rear to the front, so you can pack this thing pretty full, and it'll dry a lot of rolls. So you fit about 4 to 6 rolls depending on the size of the spools and everything. If you're drying like half-kilo rolls, you can definitely fit way more in there. So, but this is something I'm playing with. This has got another, it cycles through, it's showing the temp right now. It's got another 45 minutes left to go. And then I'm going to go ahead and put the filament in and try it, get a print, and I'm going to stick it back in and dry it for 8 hours then and see if there's a difference between the 4 versus 8. So, but the recommended drying times are on the site, and I will adjust those as I do more testing, but these are the times we found work best with just the cheaper unit. The cheaper unit we have out in the shop just has a little dial for the temperature. It's like literally a dial, it's analog, but it works well. So I want something a little more professional, something that I can like slide in to my shelving over here and just leave it there in case I want to dry some filament. So if you guys are interested, you can hit the link. There's Amazon links in the page for a cheaper version that does also have a timer. It's really similar to the one we have in the shop. The one we have in the shop looks identical, except it doesn't have the timer function. Or maybe it doesn't have a timer. Hang on. Temperature. Oh, yeah. Timer and temperature adjust. Yeah. So, but this one is, I like this style more because you don't have to modify it. You literally just don't use the, trays. So, yeah, William is telling Sunlu has some. Yeah, I looked at some options and I was like, you know what? Because like the print dry stuff they hold about as much as this. Some of them hold smaller, and they start at $179. This was $150. And in my opinion, this looks way better and is way more, way easier to put into a location versus the ones that stack. So I went with this. It looks nice. It functions well, and the price was good. So. But I'll be doing an actual video. It won't be a live stream. I'll do a video showing the difference in the print quality before and after. So, but yeah, the plastic ones you do not. You remove the tray itself. So you actually go in. I had a video, but I didn't have time to do a follow-up, and people kept asking questions. So literally, you go in and you snip the trays out of the outer sleeves. So, but obviously you then void the warranty. Whereas this, I'm not voiding the warranty on this. So if there's an issue with this, I can send it back to the manufacturer, and I haven't modified it at all. So I wouldn't recommend using the same one for food and for filament, mainly because of contaminants from the filament. But that's not my concern. My concern would be having my filament picking up stuff from the food. So, and this one is, this one's a 600 watt unit. So anyways, let's see if there's questions in here. I got to pull I had live chat open already. Here it is. How about chat? Let's see what we got going on here today. And it's Monday. Let's see. All right. Tyler West. Oh, he's talking about Microsoft Edge. Nemo Griff. If anyone's considering a thermistor from Gulf Coast Robotics. Oh, the Hex one, don't. It sucks at reading temps and it doesn't fit. I was curious about those. I've never used them. But let's talk about those. Because your stock Ender 3 thermistor actually goes into the block. The screw-in type ones, your thermistor is actually now going to be outside of the block, and it's relying on the conductivity between that brass screw that the thermistor, like here's the brass screw. So it's got a stud and it's got threads, and these threads go into the block. Okay. So, but your thermistor goes here and it's like silicone in there. Well, your thermistor is in this section here. It's no longer in the block. So it's further away from the heat source. My thing would be, is it going to be less accurate? Because it's not in the block. That would be my thing. too. And like, even if you get a stable temperature, how true is that temperature then? I have looked at getting those in because they are a convenient thing, but I'd want to get them in and test them first to see what the difference is, because there could be a temperature difference because it's now no longer inside the block, especially if you got a layer fan that's blowing past that little metal stud. So let's see here. TJ Dorman, I'm installing Easy Able Kit on my Ender 5. The sensor bracket hits the Y axis roller assembly, stopping at 8mm before the X gets to the end of the bed. You might be running your bed size higher. So that bed is a 220 by 220 print area. That's what the official Creality specification is. At one point, we did have the firmware set to 235 because on some machines it can address that. But we found that some of them, I don't know if they made changes to the frame, because we only have the machines here that we bought to go off of. And if you set your bed size too large, then you're going to have stuff colliding with the frame, just because of the style of these cube style printers. So I'm going to double check our config here. And there's, oh, this will be fun because there's like 3 different boards that can go in that. There would be the easy board and the stock board. Oh, no, not 3. Because I was thinking they had the Melzies in there at some point. So it'd just be the stock board and the stock board and the easy board. Do you have any other mods on there too? Because if you put like a direct drive or something on there, that could move the stock location and cut down on your print size. I'm just looking through here. Yeah, so on the easy board, I've got that board, or that bed size set to 220 by 220. And the Ender 5, oh, I'm thinking of the 5 Plus. The 5 never had the, so I was right. There's more of those. Let me see here. Creality 42X. Had a brain fart there. Because the Ender 5 also came with a Melzi board. So they had a couple different boards in that same model here. So let's see. Ender 5. 220 by 220 for the Melzi. And let's see. Or 220 by 220 for the Melzi. And 220 by 220 for the Ender 5. So, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe your physical machine is slightly different from the ones that we have, because we have them on there and I can move all the way to the left. And, you know, that's it. I don't really have an answer for you. Creality could have changed something. Maybe they made the frame slightly smaller on the later revisions to save on, what's the word I'm looking for? To save on like materials or shipping size. But I couldn't tell you. Do you have any other mods on there? I'm trying to see. I think you said the 427 was the board he's using. But I'll circle back to that. Do you have any other modifications on there? Like what's it called? The Micro Swiss Direct Drive, that MDD? Because I believe the MDD, the carriage on that is wider than the stock carriage because of the direct drive setup. And if that's the case, it will cut down on how much you can move. You could always change the bed size in the firmware on X. If X is where it's colliding, you can shorten up the bed size in the firmware, or because that machine homes to the max position, you could just change it in your slicer to be like 210 on X instead of 210, or instead of 220 on there. So let's see here. All right. Let's see let me go back up to where we were at. Scrolling up. There's a lot of chat today. Let's see here. Mpomar, can you update the Ender 5 Plus with the firmware updater and Octoprint? Having issues with it. I don't mess with that software. The only time I've had success with it is with a 2560 board or a 1284p board. For the 2560 board, you have to One, you have to SSH into the Pi and install AVR Dude. If you're using the Easy Pi image, we pre-install that into the actual image. But the 2560 chips, that will use the Arduino wiring method, and then you tell it you have a 2560, or not, sorry, not the Arduino method, the wiring method for the programmer. Let me just pull up one of my machines here. I believe my Easy 300 here should have that plugin installed, because I'm using our image here. Let me see here. Firmware updater. Yeah, it's installed. So here, let me show you guys. I saw someone asking about Two Trees. Two Trees is garbage. Don't give them your money. They're a terrible company, and their products are terrible quality. That's all I'll say. There's a video on their Bluer here, and from what I understand, they haven't made things better for their customers. They don't care. So firmware updater. So if you're doing like the 2560, you'll want to do AVR Dude, and then tell it the CPU you have. So if it's 2560, you'll want the programmer type to be wiring. You can also hit test here. Now this is our image. We've already installed AVR Dude and set this path. So if you're on your own installation of Octoprint, you have to SSH into your Pi, install AVR Dude with sudo apt-get, and then put this path in here, make sure it's valid. You might have to restart the Pi before that works. Now, if you're flashing a 1284 processor, you want to do 1284p, and this will be the Arduino for the programmer type. Now, if you look here, there's options for a bunch of different processors like the Atmels, the NXP LPCs, STM32s. I have never had any of these work other than the AVR Dude method. Even following documentation for this plugin, they just don't work. I've tried using the LPC one with our Easy board, with the MKS SGNL boards, with the SKR boards. It just doesn't work correctly. But I have had it work with the older 8-bit chips just fine. So like this machine, I don't have the firmware ready, otherwise I could show you. But if it's 2560, it'll be this MCU and this programmer type. If it's a 1284p like the Melzies, you'll do the 1284p and Arduino for the programmer type. But if it's any other board or processor, then you'll have to do something else. Totally forgot to turn off the chat on this one because it's annoying. But yeah, so that's how that works. But I typically, if it's an 8-bit board, I'll flash it with Octoprint. But you have to build the firmware on your computer. So when you build the firmware on your computer, you can use VS Code. It'll spit out a hex file, a firmware.hex, and then you can browse to that file and flash it. And that's all there is to it. But I've never had success with any of the 32-bit ones. I know it says it supports it, but I've never been able to get it working. And after playing around with it for like an hour and a half, 2 hours, I was like, screw it. Because with the 32-bit ones, like the LPCs, you have to SSH in, install a bunch of other things, and it's kind of a convoluted setup. But there's two different ways you can do it. There's a flash. There's the SD where it does a binary transfer to the SD card, and the other one, let me pull it up here on their GitHub. There's binary file transfer, and then allowing you to flash it to the SD, but you have to install like a USB mounting software, and it gets pretty complicated. It just wasn't worth the hassle for me, in my opinion. I'll just put it on an SD card, walk over to my printer, turn it on. I'm not flashing the firmware too often here. So, well, let's see here. Let's see. R Mills, my Siriton S5 used to be able to do super fast probe, but now experiences failures. Can you think of a possible reason? Your stuff could just be getting worn down, depending on how old it is. In my experience, the S5, I haven't been able to get it to do super fast probe. That's a big, heavy gantry. You can try upping the VREF, but some machines just can't run the super fast probe. I do have on our bug, or our testing, I keep wanting to call it bug fix, that's what Marlon calls it. We have a testing branch, 2.0.x testing, on our GitHub for Unified 2. There are, I'm playing around with less, it's still a faster probe than the fast probe. It's slightly slower than the current Superfast probe, but it's more conservative on how it probes, so it should be more compatible with many machines. So that's on there if you wanted to pull it down and test it. You can see if it works on there. That I just checked that I did commit those changes there. The testing branch is for people that want to like mess around with the more cutting edge stuff. So, but usually our testing branch will compile and work correctly. I don't usually push code up there that I haven't compiled, and if I do have stuff that's not done, if you look at the commit notes, it will say not tested in all caps or something along those lines, that like this has not been tested yet. Because sometimes I'll just stage the code and make sure I push my changes up there, because if something happens on my computer, I don't want to lose all of the changes I made. So let's see here. RAM design. If I insulate the print bed, is there any concern about insulating over the solder connections and them getting too hot and causing future issues? No, but what I will say is put something over it. I usually put Kapton tape over it, just so if I usually use foil-backed insulation tape. I put Kapton tape over it, so there's no chance that it can accidentally short. I don't know the temperature range on electrical tape, but electrical tape gets kind of goopy when it gets hot, especially if you're going up to ABS temps, which if you're insulating your bed, you're probably going up to higher temps. But Kapton tape is actually really good for that. I'll put it over there just in case, but your connections, unless they're poorly soldered, are not going to get hot. It doesn't really matter. But it wouldn't be a bad idea to put something over the solder connection. So when I insulate a bed, like when I redid Bertha, I've got a couple of beds here that I've insulated myself. I'll put Kapton tape over the solder connections and extend a couple inches past, just so it has extra like grip onto the actual bed, and then I'll put the insulation over that. So it's never a bad idea to, go overkill when it comes to safety like that and mitigating possible issues. So let's see here. We were talking about, okay, so I'm just getting past where I was talking about the dryer. Marvin, is there a direct drive for the Ender 6? I'm not sure. I'm not a huge direct drive thing. There's a lot of people that just like converting their printers to direct drive, I guess just for the sake of printing with direct drive. In my experience, you can do a lot of stuff with Bowden. The main benefit with direct drive is being able to print flexible materials faster. Other than that, a well-tuned Bowden machine with, some good quality tubing on there, you're probably going to see negligible results. So, but, if you're doing TPU stuff, your guy, is into drones and you're printing a lot of parts in TPU and you want it to be able to print a little faster, then yeah, direct drive would be worth the upgrade. But don't get direct drive thing. It's going to fix every single issue. You know what I mean? But let's see here. Is there a slice? Are the slice engineer heater cartridge and thermistor compatible with the EasyBoard Lite? So I'm not, the heater cartridge, as long as it's not going to pull more than like 8 or 9 amps, up to 10, you're fine. The terminals are rated for 12 on the hot end and bed side. That's a Phoenix contact for continuous use. But yeah, heater cartridges, those are pretty universal regardless of what board you have. But the thermistor, you would have to contact Slice Engineering. I don't sell their stuff. I don't use their stuff, and find out what thermistor number it is in Marlin. And then you would just use what's called the known hot end thermistor, and put the number that's in Marlin. So whatever Marlin thermistor number it is, you would just use that same number. Since our firmware is built on Marlin, and that's what it is under the hood, you can use the same thermistor number. So we have, and I'll just pull it up because it's easier. I already got, let me pull up my code. Let me just grab a config file here. I know they have a high temp thermistor. I just don't use their stuff because I have no reason to go that high. So I'm not printing crazy materials. It's not that I don't like them or anything. It's just don't have use for it. So, but if you scroll down, and this is in all of our configs, if you go past all the other stuff under the extra features and tweaks, there's settings for thermistors here. So you see here, thermistor settings. So if you just search for thermistor settings, so like just to show you, like let's say you just open it up and this works in VS Code too. So you do a Control F, and I'm just going to paste that in, thermistor settings. It'll take you right there. So we have this option here called known hot end thermistor. So let's say it uses value, I don't know, 62. You would just uncomment those 2 lines, replace the X with 62, and then it will use Marlin thermistor number 62 for the config. So, but they should either have it documented on the product page, or you should be able to contact them and get what thermistor number. So you're really going to ask and look for what Marlin thermistor number it uses. You would just uncomment this, uncomment that, and then replace the X with whatever thermistor number they tell you to use. Now, if you are going higher temp, you're going to want to uncomment this high temp thermistor and then set what you want your new max temp to be. So, because otherwise the firmware is going to cap you at right around 290 is what the stock setting is, because that's what the stock thermistors are typically good up to on most printers. So, let's see here. Jeffy Boy, with the Easy ABL... Wait, with the Easy ABL, I'm assuming you mean 12 millimeter instead of 2. Do you want the nozzle touching the bed or just hovering? You should follow the directions. The sensor should be mounted 1 millimeter higher than the nozzle, and then it's calibrated with the nozzle 2 millimeters off the bed. So just run through the installation guide and physically mount the sensor at the correct height. The easiest way to set that one is, let's say you have everything mounted. You want to, I want to get it 1 millimeter higher than the nozzle. So put your nozzle on the bed, then go to your printer screen, tell it to move Z up 1, and then take the wrench that comes with the printer and slide it under the sensor, and then lock the nuts in for the sensor so that the tip of the sensor is resting on that wrench. So that will give you that 1 millimeter higher. So your nozzle is 1 millimeter higher off the bed because you moved it up with the LCD, and then you slide the wrench under there and then put it down onto the wrench and then tighten the nuts up to secure it from moving. So, but with any of our products, you guys should all be looking through the installation materials, because we do write them step by step to cover all the steps. So the biggest thing people have issues with any of our products is because they aren't following the directions. So highly recommend reading it. It's not just do it to do it, but you have to follow the directions. There's a reason we do them, and they're very detailed to make sure that we don't miss anything. So it's not like we're glossing over a certain subject. So let's see here. Is the thermostat that comes with the TH3 Tough Hot End upgraded? Can it read higher temps? The max temp on there is 290. So those are just standard 100K thermistors. So I'm looking through here. Oh, there we go. Chat jumped. I was waiting for it. I was scrolling for a while with no jumps. And now I have to figure out where I was at. All right. Let's see there. 2 crazy ketos. Is there a glitch in Unified 2 with the Ender 5 Plus stock board? You have to be more specific than that, but the answer is not that I know of. Oh, he elaborated here. Let's see here. I tried to install it. I tried to install it because I changed out the LCD, but it constantly thinks 350 by 350 is the center of the bed. A couple people on Discord said the same problem. Well, I can tell you right now, there's nothing in the code that will make 350 the center of the bed. 350 by 350 is a back right corner. It sounds like you don't understand how the machine's working. If you're centering, what's the word I'm looking for? If you have an ABL probe, which the 5 Plus comes with one, that's not going to change your home position to the center of the bed. It just gets the Z0 position from the center. So it's more of a lack of understanding, it sounds like, but you should still home. It'll home X, Y. So let's say you send a G28, it'll home X and it'll home Y, and it's going to be in the back right corner. And then when it homes Z, it'll move the probe, not the nozzle, the tip of the probe, to the center of the bed and then home there. Now, that does not mean that that center position is now 350 by 350. That just means it's homing at that location and not changing the home position. It's just getting it to Z0. And you do that because when you have a probe, you want to make sure it's on the bed when it homes. So there's actually a video on this channel about homing positions and explanations on that with, actually I used the Ender 5 Plus for that demo to explain how all that stuff works. So one thing to note on the Ender 5 Plus is that the stock firmware incorrectly has the back right corner where it homes set to 00. It should actually be 350, 350. So when you update to our firmware, we have our firmware properly set up, meaning 350, 350, which is the max on X and Y that printer prints on, is the back right corner where it homes, and that printer is homing to the maximum position, and then the front left corner of the bed is your 00 position. When you're looking at the front of the printer, your front left corner of the bed is 00, and then the back right corner is the maximum position on X and Y that your printer can print on. Let's see here. JDCC is asking about Polymaker PC Max. Does it contain ABS? That would be a question for them. I've never printed with their stuff. I probably printed with some of their filament, but not the PC Max. So, Alan says, I tested a screw-in style thermistor simultaneous with an E3D cartridge style. The screw-in style read 4C lower with a sock and 8C lower without. Yeah, so it's going to affect it because you're not having the thermistor in the heat block. So superconductor, just order heat break for the Ender 6. How much is it worth to get an all metal hot end eventually? If you have a material that requires you to do an all metal hot end, then go with an all metal hot end. But what I've been doing with our machines, especially for printing ABS or PETG, which will put you in the like 240 to 250 C range, we run the tough tube because that's good for continual use up to 275. So that covers most of the temperature range we're printing in. The main reason to go with an all metal is if you're constantly printing well over that like 270 C temperature mark. So you're printing 280, 290, somewhere along there, then yeah, it would probably be recommended to go with an all metal heat break. But in my experience, the all metal heat breaks, they're nice and you don't have to worry about the PTFE breaking down, regardless if you're regardless what PTF you're using, because there's no PTFE in the melt zone. But there is a drawback, is that they're more temperamental because the filament, especially PLA, wants to stick to the metal. Now, there is an article on our help center, which is the support.th3dstudio.com site. And if you just type in like all metal hot end, there is a page there that has all of my little tips and tricks I've learned about using all metal hot ends. So one of those main things is lowering your retraction rate. And also for, the first couple of weeks you have it, use what's called a filament oiler. And I typically use canola oil. What a filament oiler does is it just puts a little thin coating of, whatever oil you're using on the filament. And then when it gets in there, it lubricates the heat break. And eventually, kind of like a cast iron pan, it will build up a coating and then you won't need to use it anymore. I have a few machines in my office here that have all metal heat breaks. They're a couple years old at this point, so I don't need to use an oiler with them. But especially with newer ones and just the standard steel, I found the steel ones tend to have filament jam up in them because it's sticking more than like the titaniums. We carry both titanium ones, and like our all metal hot ends come with just your standard steel ones. But in general, because it's metal, an all metal hot end, whether it's from us or E3D or Micro Swiss, they're going to be more prone to jamming no matter what. Versus a PTFE line one, it can't stick to the PTFE. That's the whole point of PTFE. So, no, you cannot oil with WD-40 because WD-40 is not an oil. WD-40 is a water displacing agent. It is not oil. You want to use like canola oil, olive oil. I've also used, when I'm putting a new, I'm putting a new heat break in, I'll take what's called a dry PTFE lubricant. DuPont makes it. WD-40 makes it. There is a spray, and you spray it in there, and it comes out as a liquid, but then it dries, and it actually leaves a coating of PTFE on the inside of the heat break, and I found that works really well. So, but you know, if you're using something that has a PTFE lined, then you don't have to worry about that. And I see Nexon, because it's on topic, so I'll answer his question too. He said, is the PTFE heat break you guys carry steel or titanium? That's just a steel heat break because that is a PTFE heat break. So that's a heat break that fits the V6 style hot ends that allows you to pass a PTFE tube all the way into the melt zone. So you can still use a V6 style hot end, but also then not have to deal with using an all metal heat break because it allows the filament or the filament tube, the PTFE tube, to pass all the way into the melt zone. So my go-to is if I'm printing higher temp materials like ABS or PETG, I'll just run our tough tube because those are typically in the 240 to 250 C range, and it's well within the tolerances of the tough tube where it's not going to degrade or cause issues. So let's see here. Let's see. Next questions here. Man, there's a lot of chatter. Oh no, I'm gonna sneeze. I feel it. Hang on. Okay, I just got robbed of the sneeze. That sucks. Anyways. Here we go. Next question. Matt asks, what do you think is the easiest way to add dual extrusion to a printer? IDEX MMU 2/palette 2 or 2 in, 2 out. I like the palette products. They work well. I've never met a single person that loved their MMU 2 setup, especially not their MMU 1 setups. But palette, in my opinion, I know it's pricey, but I have a palette 2 S Pro right here. I don't use it too often because I don't do multi-material or dual extrusion that often, but I have it in case I do have a project that needs it. But yeah, I think if you got the money, the palette 2's the best way. Basically, you can do it with a 2 in, 1 out, but you have to make sure you're doing the retracts past the Y adapter. I have had machines that use that, and it does work. It just takes a while getting your slicer set up to do the tool changes. So that's the hardest part with a 2 in, 1 out setup, is getting your tool change script to the length you need to pull back and the length you need to purge out to get the next color in, and then your purge block, and so on and so forth. But in terms of ease of use, I think the palette line of products, the 2 anyways, that's one I'm familiar with. I know they just came out with a new one, but they seem to do multi-material very well. And it doesn't require... I muted that, so hopefully nobody got that yawn. It doesn't require permanent modifications to your printer. So what I like about the palette 2 is, one, I can take it to any machine. Let's say I want to put on a larger machine. I can do that. I want to put on a smaller machine. I can do that. I just pick it up, recalibrate the distance for the tube, and slice files for it. I'm on my way. Whereas all the other ones require modification to your machine. All right. Armills, do you insulate Kenovo heater beds, or are they as sufficient as is? Insulation is always a good idea. William's spot on. Bed insulation always helps. It's never a bad idea to insulate your bed. So, let's see. I'm trying to find here. Is your firmware compatible with the Big Tree Tech SKR boards? Depends. We have one for the SKR E3 series, and that's provided as is. Our technical support does not provide any assistance for any other boards other than the stock boards and our easy board. So, but in terms of like the SKR 1.3, 1.4, 1.4 turbos, you would download Big Tree Tech's firmware from their, I think they use GitHub. and then follow what's called the EasyABL Vanilla Marlin Guide, and that has the settings to use. So it was bad enough. We've had so many and seen so many issues with just the SKR E3 boards alone. I don't want to deal with the headache of their universal control boards, because they have a lot of hardware issues. Like, I don't know if you guys saw, I think it was either the 1.4 or 1.4 Turbo, or maybe both. They accidentally installed 100 ohm resistors on the end stops instead of 10k ohms. It was either 10k ohms or 1k ohms. Either way, a magnitude of difference, too low of a resistance, and it was causing BL touches not to trigger. It was causing easy ABLs not to trigger. I'm pretty sure, actually, I wonder if mine has that, because I had issues with my SKR and triggering. Let me see here. I'm wondering if, I don't know if I got rid of my 1.4. I saw this the other day. I'm trying to remember where I saw that and which component it was to check, because now I'm just curious. Maybe someone else in chat knows more. I'm not sure. Anyways, when are we gonna get your boards for the Inner 5 Plus? We just got they'll be the easy board, and we have those. They'll be stocked tomorrow afternoon. Oh, you got the terrorist. Come here, Remo. Come here, buddy. Come. Oh. Hi. Yes. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. No one wants to hear you whining. Okay, anyways. Okay, we're going back down. Okay. That was short-lived. Yeah, take it. Otherwise I have to tether him up. There you go. Go get Mom. He's coming back to me. Hey! Get out of there. Go. Go. Go outside. Go. Go outside. Anyways. Let's see here. All right, let's back on track. Ken, I don't have any details on the Inner 5 Dual Z kit. Tor and Mac have them, and surprise, surprise, a lot of the screw lengths they sent out, this is the first versions. I always order a couple of units of anything new that we're thinking about selling. There's a lot of revisions that need to be had with just hardware on them, so I don't have any ones. How much you guys want to bet this is a spam caller? Let's see. Hello?
Hello, this is Sarah from Discover. I am calling in regards to rate expiration.
Oh, yeah.
We're trying to reach you with your eligibility for rate reduction is about to expire. Press 1 for more information, or hang up.
Bet you guys $100 it's an Indian call center. That's scamming.
Thank you for holding card services. How are you doing today?
Oh, I'm doing. How about you get a real job that doesn't involve scamming people that are stupid?
Fuck you.
Yeah? Yeah, I'm not an idiot. I always fuck with them. He said fuck you. That's great. I've had them say way worse stuff, though. Anyways, back on track. Let's see here. Where are the puppies and you get more treats? Samantha has the puppies. That is definitely an Indian call center. It's always Indian call centers. Like, I wish I could, like, trace them down or something. If you guys ever, Jim Browning, look up Jim Browning on YouTube if you want to see people messing with scammers. He literally gets the police involved and shuts them down. They're great. It's hilarious. So, anyways, but let's get back on topic. I saw the number. If it's a 708-220 number, it usually is a scammer, because if they're not in my contacts, I don't have anybody other than my immediate family that has 708-220 numbers. So let's see here. Titan or Bondtech, which one is better? I think they're both great. I have both here. I do sell a Titan style extruder, so I just am more inclined to use those because we have them. But I also have Bondtechs. There's a Bondtech on this guy here, and then the Anycubic Mega Zeros. Those have a Bondtech clone on them, and those have been reliable. So it really comes down to what your preference is. I think they're both great extruders. So let's see here. So, and I haven't found, people are like, oh, dual drive. I haven't had any complaints with the Titans. So, some people are asking, because I have some suppliers that can get us, like, Chinese versions of the BMGs. But as far as I know, the BMG is not open source, and I'm not going to sell a Chinese copy of something that's not legally permissible to sell. You know, E3D open source the Titan design, they open source the V6 design, so literally anybody can manufacture it, anybody can, you know, do it. You can't say it's a V6 or say it's a Titan, which is why we have our own naming convention for them. But as far as I know, BMG doesn't, they're not open source. So I was thinking about reaching out to them to see about carrying some of their stuff. But only so much time in the day here. Two crazy kios. When I tried to run a grid, so he's talking about the Ender 5 Plus. He said when I tried to run a grid, it started at the center, then went to the back right corner for probes 3 to 9 and stay there and freeze. Mac at support said there's a glitch and use Unified 1. I'm not aware of that. They're supposed to tell me this stuff if that's the case. So I will have to, like, I'm going to screenshot this and be like, what are you talking about? You should be using Unified 2. And I don't honestly know what you mean by you're saying it started at the center. It should not start at the center. So if you run a, I'll show you right now because my Ender 5 Plus doesn't have anything on it. I am running an easy board in it, but it uses the same firmware and same settings as the stock board. Let me see here. Let me pull up my Ender 5 Plus. And I'll show you what it should look like. So we'll see it connect in a second here. I have one of our plugs on here. So I have a 12-second delay to give the board time to boot up and show up on the serial. So here's what this should look like. So this is run our firmware. So if I do a home XY, you'll see it'll home the X and Y. And then if I home Z, it'll home the Z. Okay. Now, if I go to the terminal and I run, I think I can open 2 tabs. I think this will work. Find out. Control. I think this will work. We'll find out. I haven't actually done this. So let's see. G28. Hey, look, that works. I guess I could also open. There we go. I can just open the image in a new tab. All right, that works. So, and then a G29. So let's say you're starting a print. You do a G28, which will home X, Y, and Z. So you see there. So that's how it should look. Then we home Z. And then we do a G29. And it'll take the probe. So it'll come to the front left. It'll take measurements there. So now it's going to generate the grid. Give it a sec. And that's the camera locking up. There we go. Or not the camera, the Pi. I got to re-image the Pi. I think its SD card is just past its lifetime. But anyways, you can see there. So it did the row here, came back, did the row here, and did the row here. So this is a 3x3 grid. So that's what it should look like. If you're you should just connect. So I don't know if you're using Octoprint or whatnot. You could always use Pronterface. A simple test to see would be to manually send the commands G28 and then G29 and see if yours looks like this. If it does, then that means you have an issue with your starting code. If your starting code's incorrect, it's going to cause issues, but that's what it should look like. So if we look up like the EasyABL starting code will actually work with BL touches. So if we go in our help center here, I type that in. Here's the EasyABL bed leveling starting code. You can use this as your starting code. So you would just replace all of your starting code with this, and this will work with any machine with the BL Touch or even with the EasyABL. This is what we use, and you can see here we've got like a little retract so it doesn't leave blobs, and then we do a home all, a G28, we do a G28Z, and then we do a G29. So, and then we wait 10 seconds here because the heaters will drop a little bit in temperature because they're being cycled on and off as a probing is being run. So this is what you should be using. So if you set a G28 and a G29 to the machine, and it looks like what I just showed here where it homes all and then goes to the center, and then we do a G29, it comes here, goes there, then the firmware is working correctly. So like I said, this is running, it's probably on a slightly older version, but we haven't made any changes to the actual code base. Let's see here. Oh, this actually isn't that old. So I updated on April 1st. So I'm on 2.2.5, which I believe is our latest one. Let's see here. GitHub. So unified firmware. Yeah, so this is the latest one. So I must have updated this. And then flashed this one. So this is running the latest one. So that's what you should be using. That's how it should look. So if your printer does anything other than what I showed here for the G28 and G29, then there's something up with your starting code. That scared the crap out of me because I didn't know what that sounded like. It just said it was done. I'm going to let this, I'll leave it. I'm going to pop that into the printer then and see. But that's what it should look like. So you should do some troubleshooting. See if yours looks like what I showed there with the G28 and then the G29. If it does, then that means your firmware is working correctly. So let's see. We went over that one. We are coming up. We're almost out of time anyways. So, Paul the Texan, am I planning on checking out the FL Sun Super Racer Delta? Nope, I will not buy FL Sun. Their stuff is really poor quality, and especially I don't like doing Deltas. So, one other thing I wanted to mention. Oh, because you guys kept asking me about that damn Voxel Lab Aquila or whatever. If you didn't catch the Workbench Hangout board or stream, I ordered one. So I have one of those on the way. They sold on Amazon. Says it'll be here tomorrow. So we'll see. I'm going to do the Solval before that one, but I will have one tomorrow. So I will start playing with it. It was cheap enough where I was like, So, but let's see. Are we going to carry an EasyFlex system for the Ender 6? Eventually. It's lower on the priority list. I think we already have the plate designed. Let me double check. I'm going to check right now. 290 by 290. No, we don't have one already designed. They're DXF. Yeah, I don't have one already designed, so it would have to be designed. I've been using the 260 by 260 on my Ender 6, which I will show you guys. Main monitor, here's my Ender 6. And you can see what that looks like. Octoprint's taking its time. Octoprint usually takes a sec to load. You'll see it's like still loading. And this is on a Pi 4. Sometimes it just takes a little bit for it to come up. There we go. Now it's figured its life out. But you can see here, that's what it covers. And this covers my whole print area. So I've got an easy plug on here too. So I just told it to turn on and it's going to connect. I am using the power blocker on this. This still has the stock board in it. My plan is to use the stock board on this until it just kind of gives up the ghost. So, but this camera is looking from the rear of the printer. but you can see they all behave the same way. So if I do a G28, so this does a G28XY and this does a G28Z, you'll see here that it does the same thing. So it homes X and Y, and then it homes Z. And then if I do a G29, this is what it does. So if there was a bug in this code, this would be affecting all of these machines because this is running a completely different board. I've also got the alpha is on a slightly older version. This is a 2560 processor, so the same processor that's used in the Ender 5 Plus. So let me see here. There we go. It's done doing its auto leveling. But I'll go and shut that off because I'm not going to print anything with it. And there we go. And then the EZ300, let's see what version of the firmware are we running on this. This one's probably going to have an older one. So this is 2.2, this actually isn't that old, 2.22a. So this has, excuse this camera, this is not one of our cameras. This was, I needed a camera when all the COVID stuff, or sorry, human malware stuff happened, and I literally could only find 640 by 480 cameras. But it works well enough to just get a view on my prints, so I've just left it. So again, this is running the 2.22a, which is going to be the same exact code base as 2.2.5. The main changes we've done over the last couple releases has been like tweaks and new machines. There's been no changes that would affect this. So again, if I do a home all, and then I'll send a G29. So if there is a bug that only affects the 2560s, this printer would be doing it too. So we just did a G28. Here's our G29. You can see there. So like I said, do a G28, G29, and if it works with those commands and it does what you're saying here, then you have an issue with your starting code or maybe even something in your slicer. You know, I can only give you what I know is the best practice and how things should be set up, and then you got to go from there, compare what you have. So then we'll do one more probe in the back corner, and this has an older probe on it too, but it still works. So, and then yeah, let's go ahead and good night, and there we go, it'll shut off. So anyways, we are at the 1 hour mark. I'm gonna see if there's any other quick questions here. There's a guy named this guy, and Sierra 10 Pro V2 or Ender 5 Plus. I would go with the Ender 5 Plus. If they're about the same price, I'd go with the Ender 5 Plus. I have the Sierra 10 Pro V1, which is just the Sierra 10 Pro. Not a bad machine, but if I had to choose, those are my two choices, I would go with the Ender 5 Plus. Already answered about the easy boards, although you probably joined late. They will be restocked shortly after 12 p.m. Central tomorrow. We only have 100 of them. Not trying to do any marketing stuff. I literally only got 100, and that's all we can get right now until I'm able to get more processors. So let's see. Any other quick questions? Oh, chat jumped. Of course. I don't even know where I was at. Car warranty. Hang on. Sorry if I'm not as on point today. I am, I took a bunch of Excedrin earlier, and I'm still kind of got a headache, so I'm not trying to be too loud, because I don't want to aggravate things. Let's see here. Oh yeah, that's a good thing too. R mills. Yeah, if you have super fast probe on, you probably want to turn it off. It took a lot of alignment and lubrication of my Z-rods on my Ender 5 Plus to get it to be able to run super fast probe. But as I use the machine more and more, I got to clean and lube the rods because it will fail probing eventually once the rods get gunked up. So, but anyways, I'm just checking. All right, Rex got his repaired board back. Awesome. We just sent out, I did a couple of them the other day. So, Mac has not replied to me about the thing with Unified 1. Typically, like, if there's a widespread issue, like, let's say there was an issue with the probing, we would be hearing about it from a lot of people, and we haven't, aside from you saying that, I haven't been able to replicate anything like that. It usually comes down to improper slicer setup if you are having weird issues, or you're running the machine harder than it should be, aka like the super fast probing. You definitely can't do super fast probing with a BL Touch. So, anyways, we are on the hour mark. I appreciate everybody that stopped by. I hope you guys learned something, and we do these streams. They are now Mondays at 4 p.m. Central Time, just so I have more time to get through the day, and then also on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. Central. Let's take a look and see. Did any of my filament deform? We're looking pretty good. Let's see. Huh. We're looking pretty good here. No deformation. I'm going to put this on the printer and see how this prints now it's been dried. So I had this in here for 4 hours. But you can see here, I've got multiple rows in here of just, this is all just random stuff. This overture I've had for a while. But you can fit quite a bit of spools in this sucker. So I would say you can fit about 5 to 6, because you can do 3 stacked, one on the side here, another one in the front, maybe a 6th one. So we'll see. So anyways, I will talk to you guys later, and I'll see you on the next stream. And as always, happy printing. Take it easy.